let's talk about claircognizance. Let's talk about what it is. Okay, I'm not a singer, I'm a psychic. But seriously, let's talk about claircognizance. So, claircognizance is one of the four main clairs, and you've probably heard about the other clairs before. So, before we talk about claircognizance, let's briefly review what the three other more commonly known clairs are. There's clairvoyance, which is available through your third eye, which is right about here somewhere. So it's through your third eye that you are able to receive visions intuitively. Now, clairvoyance actually means clear sight, clear seeing. But the reality is, when we're dealing with intuition, when we're dealing with psychic abilities, most of the information that we receive isn't very clear. It's actually a little muddled. And so instead of calling clairvoyance clear sight or clear seeing, I prefer to call it intuitive sight or intuitive seeing, because it is information that you receive intuitively. Again, it's not always made clear for you. The second most well-known clair is clairaudience, and so this is the ability to hear things intuitively. Third, we have clairsentience, and so for those of you who are my empaths and my HSPs, clairsentience is probably your strongest ability, because clairsentience is clear feeling, it's intuitive feeling. Now, this feeling is interesting because it can be emotional, physical, or both. So clairsentience covers a wide range of physical and emotional sensations. So claircognizance, what is that? It is intuitive knowing. It is basically when you know something, but you don't know how you know it. And this can be a really confusing gift, because the way that claircognizance can come forward can really have you feeling a little confused. Like, really, it can knock your socks off. I just dated myself, didn't I? Who uses the phrase knock your socks off? But anyways, it will. It'll knock your socks off. So let me give you an idea of how claircognizance shows up for me. Sometimes I will be talking to a friend. They will ask a question about something I have no knowledge of whatsoever. None. Zero. Nada. They will ask me a question, and without thinking, without feeling, all of a sudden, it's like words just blurt out of my mouth that I did not consciously think of, that I had no intention of saying. It's like something else just kind of enters in through my spirit, in through my aura, in through my energy. The answer, the information, the message comes out, boom, it's gone. And it's almost always correct. I say almost always, but the truth is, it's always been correct. And so the person I'm talking with will stop and be like, "How did you know that?" And I will honestly respond with, "I don't know," because I don't know how I knew that. I had no knowledge of anything they were asking about, anything they were talking about, and all of a sudden this information just out of my mouth and goes. It's weird. And this has happened to me several times. Now, I would be really interested to know how claircognizance shows up for you. Is that one of the ways that clear knowing, intuitive knowing pops up for you? Is it one of those things where you just suddenly know something and you blurt out the answer, you blurt out the information? If so, put that in the comment. I'd love to know if that's how other people experience it, because honestly, I don't know if it is or not. I've spoken to a handful of other intuitives, and I know that they've had similar experiences, but it seems like it's not quite the same, because with mine, it's not even a thought that comes in. It's not a gut feeling. It's just boom, knowledge right out of my mouth. Really kind of strange, really kind of interesting. Not gonna lie, it's a little unnerving for me, because I like to think that I'm in control of myself and my mouth at all times. But every once in a while, just boom, information, words, messages just come out. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. Didn't see that coming. But there's another way that claircognizance can show up on the scene that is far more helpful. And those of you who are more developed in your psychic gifts and psychic abilities, you're probably going to be able to resonate with this one. So claircognizance is the knowledge, the wisdom that comes alongside the intuitive visions or the intuitive thoughts that you're receiving. So here's an example. Many years ago, I was putting on my makeup, minding my own business, and all of a sudden in my mind's eye, I saw an explosion. I had no idea what this meant, no idea what it was in reference to, and it was just so bizarre. And I couldn't figure out why my mind would show me an explosion while I was putting on my makeup. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. Well, later on in the day, I turned on the news, which I very rarely do, even to this day. Don't watch the news much, but put on the news, and there was a story about an explosion that had happened over at a marathon. So I was just like, oh my God, like that's crazy. The way that claircognizance could have helped with that is if, when I received that intuitive message, if I had received that intuitive clairvoyant vision, if the claircognizance had come alongside and told me in some way, shape, or form that this is at a marathon, or this is relevant, this is why everyone's going to be feeling pretty down and heavy over the next few days. But there was no knowledge whatsoever that came with that vision. So the vision was very confusing. Now, on the flip side, there have been plenty of times when I got a vision of something and I did understand what it meant. And even though I didn't really have a reference point for the vision that I was receiving, and even though there was no clear audience accompanying it to explain to me what it meant, I just intuitively and instinctively knew what that vision was representing. So that is how claircognizance can work alongside your other clairs. So, for example, if you hear a voice in your head telling you to go left instead of right when you're going for a walk, you may intuitively know that that is your grandmother sending you that thought, or that is your guardian angel. There might be just an intuitive knowledge of where that information came from, who's guiding you to go that way, and you might even know, like, oh yeah, if I go left, I get to see my favorite flowers because there's a yard that's really well manicured. That would definitely uplift my spirits, you know? So there's just this intuitive knowing that comes with that clairaudient message, or with that clairvoyance, or even with the clairsentience. So claircognizance can be very helpful to develop and to work with as you're working with the other clairs, because the truth is that clairvoyance on its own isn't all that helpful. Trust me, I know. I've had many, many experiences where I saw something intuitively, or I even saw something not so intuitively, more of an outline of something through my physical eyes. And when you receive information, when you receive visions, without the knowledge of what it means, who it's for, what it represents, that's not helpful. Honestly, that'll just drive you a little batty because it's really frustrating. Like, why am I seeing this? Why is this information coming through? Now, of course, many of us who have different spiritual abilities and are open to them will have that experience where we will see something in our mind, and then days later, we'll see that very vision, or we see the action play out. So that's a common thing that'll happen. And the reason that we're not receiving any type of knowledge at that moment in time when we receive the vision is because it's going to make sense, probably, not always, probably, when we see that thing on our path in the future. The thing that's interesting about claircognizance is I feel that it is one of those abilities that's a little more vague. I feel like it can be harder to detect because claircognizance is that intuitive voice of knowledge and wisdom. And when our claircognizance speaks to us, whether it's speaking to us through an internal voice, a feeling that we have, or like I said, just words that fly out of your mouth without any heads up whatsoever, it can be hard to determine if that is your claircognizance, if that is your intuition giving you knowledge, or if it's something you made up, if it's something that's just in your head, or if it's a past trauma that's wanting to play out. So it can be a little more challenging to develop this gift because it does seem a little more elusive, at least in my opinion, it does. Maybe you've had a different experience, and if that's the case, I'd love to hear about it. So put your stories and your thoughts in the comment section. So even though claircognizance can be a little more elusive than the other abilities, there is a way that you can work with it to make it stronger. There is a way that you can develop it. So the very first thing to acknowledge is that your claircognizance is the voice of truth and wisdom within you. It is the voice of truth and wisdom that resides within your soul and is connected to the universe. Now, when I say the universe, I'm really referring to God or the quantum field or the energy that unites us all. We know that there is something bigger out there that provides life and gives life to all creatures and to all different planets, right? There is some type of force out there that is holding everything together. And you have the ability to connect with this force on a conscious level. The truth is, we're all connected to it all the time. We are all connected to that spiritual field all the time. We just don't make a conscious effort to communicate with it. And that's what claircognizance does. Claircognizance allows us to communicate with that voice, with that spirit, with that other realm. And what's interesting is that I find that my claircognizance is the strongest when I have a spiritual daily practice that I stick to. And this spiritual practice needs to be one that does elicit and invite communication from the universe, from my guides and angels, my higher self, my own soul. So the difference between that is that you might have a daily spiritual ritual. Maybe you meditate every day for 10, 20 minutes a day. Maybe that meditation is awareness, where you're paying attention to your breath and you're paying attention to your own spirit and your own aura. Perhaps your spiritual practice is waking up and praying every morning and giving thanks for everything that you have. All of these things are good, but they don't necessarily invite the universe to speak to you. They don't necessarily invite that open communication. So, what I recommend doing is finding a divinatory practice that you really like. So, a divination practice could be tarot, runes, working with crystals, working with pendulums. It is a way to consciously invite the universe to speak to you, to provide you with different messages. And so, there's a wide variety of tools and methods out there that can allow you to connect with the universe and get answers back. And so I do believe that claircognizance can be developed in that way because claircognizance lights up when you have a strong relationship with the other side. And as we all know, when it comes to any healthy relationship, there has to be healthy respect, love, and communication taking place from both parties, right? And I think the mistake that people make is, let's say that your Aunt Bertha considers herself to be very spiritual. And your Aunt Bertha goes to church every day. She has friends. She prays every day. She tends to her garden. She keeps her house clean. She's loving and she's nice, but she doesn't really seem to have any widely profound spiritual gifts. And when she maybe reads the Bible or she reads any type of holy book, she doesn't really seem to get a lot out of it. But she prays all the time and she goes to church and she does all the things. But the reason that she doesn't seem to be able to hear God, and the reason she doesn't really have intuitive insight into anything, is because she's doing all the talking. When she is praying to God, She's doing all the talking. She may not be allowing her thoughts to calm down enough to receive communication back from God because she's doing all the talking. And we see this happen in actual relationships between people where you always have that one person that does all the talking and isn't a good listener. And then this person gets frustrated and can't understand why their relationships fall apart. It's because, dude, you won't stop talking. You don't receive information from other people. You may ask them a question and you might ask for guidance, but when they give it to you, you get upset or you talk over them because you just love the sound of your own voice so much. Like, they do not stop talking ever, period. It's annoying. People can do this when they see themselves as being spiritual and they're connecting to God or the universe. They just continually talk, they continually put their information out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it is healthy to communicate with the source of all knowledge and all wisdom, the source that created you and created all beings. It's good to tell the universe what's on your mind, even though it already knows. But it's good to have that conversation. It's good to talk to spirit. But we need to be able to give spirit a chance to answer back. So, when I talk about divination, again, I'm talking about being able to provide a way for spirit to talk back to you. And I do believe that divination tools can be really helpful because it's something you can hold in your hand. So, tarot, oracle cards, again, pendulums, those can all be really helpful. And if you are someone who is able to receive information intuitively through your clairaudience and through your clairvoyance and the other clairs, then you can sit down and close your eyes and ask the universe for guidance on something and just close your eyes and see what comes through. And the more you do this, the more your claircognizance will begin to build up as well. Because what you're actually doing is you're opening up the invitation, you're opening up the doors for the universe to speak back to you. So it's not a one sided conversation. And as you continue to meditate, as you continue to dive into different divination methods and divination practices, what will happen is that you will find that you are not only in conscious contact with the universe all the time, but because that door is open for communication, it remains open. And so now the universe will funnel information, downloads, and whatever it needs to at any point of time during the day or night. So now you have open access to the universe. It has more open access to you. You've really worked on building up your other clairs, most likely, because I find that when you work on one clair, the others tend to open up too. And so, as you continue to work with those clairs and as you continue to make it your intention to talk to the universe and receive information back, your claircognizance can light up because now that ability to hear and receive information from the universe is always available. And so that's why you'll end up in situations where, like the example I was giving earlier, I was talking to one of my friends. She asked a question about something I knew nothing about, blurted out the answer, and she's like, "How on earth did you know that?" And it's like, I have no idea. I have no idea because the truth is, I didn't know that. I had no idea what she was talking about or what the answer was, but the universe did. And the universe clearly wanted to get its point across to her and wanted to answer that question. So, me being a vessel who's open to receiving universal guidance and to being a vessel of truth, wisdom, and guidance for other people, knew it was okay to answer her question through me because I didn't have the answer. I didn't have the answer at all. So, claircognizance is a very useful gift because honestly, I have seen so many people get agitated and go a little cuckoo when they receive clairvoyant visions or clairaudient messages and they don't know where it's coming from, what it's in reference to, and what to do with it. What do you do with that information? Beats me, I don't know. So, find a way to develop a two-part conversation with the universe, whether that is through divination tools or through asking a question, closing your eyes, and waiting for the answer to come. And the truth is, the second method, that sometimes takes the longest. It does. It sometimes takes the longest. And if you use both methods, divination along with conscious practice of closing your eyes and allowing the universe to speak to you, I believe it works a little faster. And then also that way you have more than one means of being able to reach out to the universe and get answers. And remember, all forms of communication require practice. So whether you decide to go with tarot cards, it's going to take you some practice to get good at it and to understand how the cards speak to you. Oracle cards, pendulum, using your body as a pendulum, muscle testing. It takes practice. So be patient with yourself. This is definitely a gift worth developing. And if you have any questions about this gift or you have any stories you'd like to share about how claircognizance has helped you or different ways it's presented itself in your life, I would love to hear about it. Others would love to hear about it. So I'd like to invite you to put your stories, put your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you would like to learn more about your clairs, how they work, and you'd like to open them up, check out my online course, Easy Steps to Open Your Clairvoyance. I'm sure it will help you on your way to learning more about these wonderful psychic senses. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.